Hello, this is Jim McCausland, your General Secretary. 2011 is going to be an even busier year than normal for BALPA. Pay negotiations, pension negotiations, scheduling arrangements, safety regimes, and the continuing frustration of airport security will be high on our agenda. But there is one issue that will touch every member. There is one threat for every passenger. There is one cloud hanging over our industry, and that is the ripping up of CAP 371 and its replacement with a set of European rules that have little scientific basis and will allow airlines to drive a coach and horses through your current scheduling agreements. In this short presentation, I want to outline the issues, tell you what we are doing, and ask for your help. So why is this important? Pilots know about fatigue. It's becoming an increasing concern, even here in the UK, where we have the relative luxury of CAP 371. But this is not just a lifestyle issue, although it is very much that. It is a life and death issue, with fatigue having been proven to be a contributing factor in 15 to 20% of all global fatal air accidents. The investigation into the horrific 2009 Colgan air incident in Buffalo clearly concludes that the pilot's performance was impaired due to fatigue. The US administration has woken up to that by tightening its rules. Europe is going in the opposite direction. UK aviation is currently the safest in Europe, and that is in no small part due to the strict and scientifically based FTLs that we follow. CAP 371 was first developed by Sir Douglas Bader in the early 70s. That's a proud heritage, but it didn't stop there, and drawing on further scientific study, practical experience and lots of discussion, it has evolved over the subsequent 40 years into the rule set we follow today. It's not perfect, but it is the best in class and one which many countries follow. It is something the UK should be proud of. However, by the end of 2012 it will no longer exist. That is when the European Aviation Safety Agency, EASA, will set the standard for Europe, and the UK will lose control of a fundamental part of its safety culture, if we let it, of which more later. So how will these new rules affect you? Let me give you some examples by comparing CAP 371 to these EASA proposals. Your annual flying hours could go up from 900 to 1,000 in 12 consecutive months. There will be a 900-hour limit, but that only triggers on the 31st of December as a snapshot. It could mean 60 hours on duty in 7 days, or even 62 if commander's discretion is used on the 7th. And more worryingly, up to 120 hours, compared to 95 under CAP 371 in a 14-day period. It would also mean no limits on earlies, rather than a current restriction of 3 consecutives or 4 and 7. Minimum rest away from base could reduce to 7.5 hours, with half an hour of that being travelled to your hotel. Days off could reduce from 2 local nights totalling 34 hours to just 2 local nights, which would mean you could potentially finish at midnight on the day before your day off and start again at 6 o'clock the day after. And the changes are even more stark when we look at the proposed maximum FDP. Look at this graph. The black line is what is known as a Karolinska sleepiness scale, a well-respected scientific model for evaluating subjective sleepiness. The green line is the maximum single sector FDP under 371. It pretty well follows that science. But the red line, that is what EASA propose. These proposals have no scientific or medical basis. Indeed, the available science has been ignored, and the 244-page EASA Notice of Proposed Amendment, NPA, dwells at far greater length on the cost to airlines of adopting CAP 371 type rules. Now, many pilots may feel that existing scheduling agreements will protect them. The answer is no. If these proposals are adopted, any airline can choose to fly to these limits, or should I say targets, irrespective of any historical national rules. In reality, UK airlines will struggle to remain competitive unless they join that race to the bottom. We have seen it in the Merchant Navy, and this proposal has all the same hallmarks. It is because of that Merchant Navy experience that we want EU-wide rules to prevent one country undercutting another by liberalising its safety laws. Those laws need to be there, but they need to have a strong scientific base. The airline should be supporting us in that and levelling the playing field of competition so that it is commercially best that wins rather than highest safety risk. yet airlines are saying some pretty unpleasant things, such as this quote from the Association of European Airlines on the day that the NPA was released. The AEA represents BA, Virgin, BMI and DHL. The Low Fares Association, originally spawned by Ryanair but which now includes EasyJet, Jet2 and Flybe, says this. Now, to be clear, we are quite prepared for this not to be a terms and conditions negotiation. We want it to be scientifically led. It is EASA and the airlines that have asked that the available science be set aside. So hopefully you now get a sense of how important this is, what we're up against and why we need to take action. The rules will not kick in overnight, and the political and regulatory procedures fall into three phases. In Phase 1, EASA are asking for comment on that 244-page NPA. The closing date for comment is 20th of March 2011. In Phase 2, and having hopefully digested feedback from Phase 1, EASA will publish a fresh draft and consult on that between July and September 2011. And then in early 2012 the final draft will be tabled and be consulted with the European Commission, the Council of Ministers and eventually the European Parliament. BALPA will be active at each stage and will adopt a tone and style appropriate for that phase. At present we are drafting our response to the CAA. We believe they need to be held to account. It'll be no good them shrugging their shoulders and saying it is all Europe's fault. We'll be submitting our comment on the NPA directly to EASA. We are working with fellow pilot associations to table a major input from all European pilots. And with them and through the ECA, we're directly questioning the EU Commission and key MEPs on their willingness to go along with these ill-thought-out proposals. We are raising awareness of these developments with Westminster MPs, but we are not in this phase making it a huge public campaign. That may come later, but experience teaches us that the risk of exhaustion can set in quickly and public attention may not survive the 15 months of campaigning that may prove necessary. In addition, we've been laying down other plans. Research studies by UCL into the experience at EasyJet and by Leicester University into pilot sleep patterns more generally were started by BALPA last year and are now entering report stage. We are looking at a legal strategy, such as the possibility of judicial review to challenge the actions of the UK government in allowing such rules to come in. And we'll be developing a political lobbying strategy in Europe for subsequent phases of the campaign. But for our campaign to succeed, it needs your support, which is absolutely critical. There are a number of things that you can do to support us. Firstly, visit the campaign website and add it to your bookmarks. This will be the central location for all campaign activity and information. Secondly, write to or email your MP if you haven't already done so. There is a letter template on the campaign website, but do overlay it with your own personal experiences. They count for so much. Send us your testimonials. If you have had an experience of fatigue that you feel able to share, then share it with us through email at the wakeup@balpa.org email address. We won't be publishing anything at this stage, and when we do, we'll do it completely disidentified. Agree to take part in telephone polling if asked. The views and experiences of the membership will be important evidence to support the campaign. And finally, send every pilot you know this link to this video. You should by now know how important it is. You need to tell your fellow members as well, and make sure that they're engaged in the campaign. We will shortly be asking you to take part in another stage, which is the formal response to EASA via their website's Common Response Tool. It's not the easiest process in the world, but every response will add weight to the campaign. We will also publish alternative means of responding to EASA so that everyone has a chance to have their say. And for that, you need to make sure you visit the website. Thank you for listening to this presentation. Hopefully now you will feel as strongly as we do that these proposals are unacceptable in their current form. We need to unite and to tell decision makers in the UK and Brussels to wake up. Tired pilots risk lives. Thank you.